it is humbling to be here with you today, but it's also such an honor that I'm going to share with you my experience when you came to the station and you took pictures and you asked me questions. And the questions were not easy. They were strong questions. They were, you know, why do you do this? Why did you decide it? And I have to tell you, I connected with you right away, and I share with you that I had the opportunity to be in KGNU thanks to the League of Women Voters. I went back to school. I decided to go back to get my master's. You know, I'm not a young one anymore. And when I decided to go back, I had the opportunity to apply for an internship, a combined internship that the League was putting out with the radio, the community radio. And they gave me the opportunity, and by giving me this opportunity, it really changed the whole projection, because to tell you the truth, I was planning on dropping out of school because it was not an easy thing to go back to school at my age, and also to go back to school with a second language. And, you know, in media has changed so much. But it was thanks to the support I received from the League that I venture into this, and that got me inspired into finishing my master's. And now I even have a job there in KGNU. I am the bilingual equity reporter, and it is difficult for me to say, but I'm saying it also proud that it is a position that has a lot of responsibility. I have to mention here that Jeanine Pow was the one who said to me on one of those first meetings that I was invited at the League, you need a mentor. And I have to tell you, I think that for us, immigrants, women of color, we need mentors in order to continue and be assertive about our, you know, our position, our reason to be here, especially right now in this country that is experiencing a global pandemic, and also issues of racism that are so difficult. I can go on and on, but I would like to allow others to also share the experience of being interviewed by you, being, you know, with the beautiful pictures you took, and making me feel that I am a member of a wider and bigger thing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Shiquita, do you want to take this one?
Yes, I just want to say thank you all who are in attendance tonight. Thank you for being here. And Hannah, thank you for your insight. And you're just so wonderful and smart and beautiful. And so this project for me, when you came to me, I have to be honest, because you asked me, that's why I did it, because you're just so awesome. But then when you sat down with me and you said, Shiquita, this is powerful. And when you start explaining this project to me, and I realized how powerful it truly is. She Is Me project is about us, as John Lewis had said, we are all in the same house. So we are all in this community together. And so what happens to one sister happens to us all. And this is a powerful project that is demonstrating how these beautiful women of the League of Women Voters all over the nation come together and fight for the same things. And some of us come from different culturally backgrounds and different languages. And guess what? We're all still tackling pretty much the same things. So if you're my neighbor, we should be in this together. If you are in the same state, we should be doing the same thing. We should be in this together, linking arms, elbows to elbow, and making things happen, creating change within the League of Women Voters, in our communities, in our state, in our nation. So this project just brought forth how we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different careers, but we are still fighting the same fight. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Jeanine?
Thank you, Hannah. I'm really humbled to be included as a panelist, and I really am inspired by the work that you've been doing on this project, Hannah. You know, the She Is Me project is an important reminder of the multitudes of women who have been fighting since 1848 to ensure the right, ability, and the desire of all citizens to be actively engaged in democracy. The work isn't done. Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. And I'm going to move on to question 2. Why are you guys involved in the League of Women Voters of Boulder County? And Jeanine, if you want to take this one first.
Well, I've been involved with the League for 10 years or longer now. And what initially attracted me was the nonpartisan nature of the League. I really enjoy working with dedicated people who deeply care about democracy. I'm proud to participate in an organization that cultivates discussion and that takes a leadership role in advancing public policy and public awareness about positions such as living wage, voting rights, and the abolition of the Electoral College.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Rossana, same question.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. I have to say that what really speaks to me is this phrase that Shiquita just said, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And for me, the open door that Shiquita also put for me as I came into the League was incredible. And just this feeling of being part of something big, like I also mentioned, but something that has inspired me from the very beginning has been seeing the power of the members going out, doing so many activities. There was something that Shiquita, we always said, they are so strong. It is incredible how they get organized, they get things done, and they are reliable. And I have to continue. I have to tell you sincerely that I continue requesting support in my reporting. When I have a doubt, I go and refer to the League. I either call somebody that knows about it, or I always go back to the website to check how the issues that we are facing are being framed. And that is the important thing. I think that, nonpartisan is extremely important. My work as a journalist, I always say to everybody, I am not a Democrat, I am not a Republican. I need to stay completely in the middle in order to really report, yes, from the point of view of a Latina, of an immigrant, but keeping myself as I need to do, like the League showed me how to do it. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And Shiquita.
So I was recruited to be a part of the League, and the League is well known nationally, and I'm pretty sure internationally people know of the League of Women Voters. So I agreed to be a part of a meeting, and then before you know it, I became a board member just like that, and it was great. And I remember sitting there like the first couple of board meetings and feeling a little intimidated because all of these women were so powerful, so knowledgeable, so educated. And I remember feeling, what did I have to bring to the table with, to all of these beautiful, powerful, well-educated, wisdom, women, wise women. And so, so maybe I felt like I didn't have anything to bring to the table, but I tell you what, I sure did learn a lot. As Rossana said, these women are strategic. This organization is very strategic. And, you know, and they are powerful. They stand strong. And if they say they are going to do something, by golly, it's going to get done. And I needed that in my life, actually, to see other women moving forward, learning from them, learning how to be quiet and listen, and knowing when to speak. So I believe that it's so great to have the League of Women Voters in our communities. And I'm grateful to still be a part of the League of Women Voters, and most likely will be for a long time to come, till death do us part. So.
Awesome, thank you guys so much. On to the next question. The League has been an advocate in voting rights and in the Voting Rights Act for, you know, forever. What barriers do we have today that are concerning you guys? And Shiquita, if you want to take this one first.
Absolutely. So there are quite a few barriers that I'm really concerned about. One are the polls. A lot of polls have been shut down. A lot of polls, and now that since those polls have been shut down, there are less of not enough access in certain areas. And so that means people have to have transportation to get there. And that may not be feasible for them. Purging, voter purging, you know, that is a huge concern for people who may not have voted in the past few years. And so they purged and removed them from the list. And a lot of times people don't even know that they have been removed. Maybe the reduction of, you know, voting hours. What if people work and they have to go pick up their child care? And so then they're not getting there in enough time. Making sure that someone have to have an ID requirement, right? What happened to people who are homeless and they may not have their ID, or people who have P.O. box and you got to have a physical ID. So these people, those are barriers for people who just going to use their right to vote, you know, and those are challenges that people don't think about because they, you know, we need to vote, and they go out there to vote, and then they're being turned away because of this. And then the last thing I want to say is the coronavirus, as someone just posted up there. Most people who are poll workers are senior citizens or elderly people, and they do not want to be exposed to that many people coming in and out of the polling areas. So if we can get younger people to be poll workers, then, you know, we have a greater opportunity. But those are some of the challenges, because who will be the one to stand there in those polling locations if the people who usually do it year after year are not able to? So.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Jeanine, if you want to take this one, and excuse me, I'm going to turn on my light real fast. It got really dark in here. Okay. Jeanine, sorry.
Thank you. You know, I've got a lot of concerns, both personally and professionally, as a retired attorney. I'm concerned about the barrage of false and misleading information about the reliability and the security of mail-in voting when there's absolutely no evidence of that, as was determined by Wayne Williams, the former Colorado Secretary of State, in an extensive study of voter conduct in Colorado. I'm concerned by a president who's questioned the integrity of the November election and sends a message of hopelessness and cynicism. I'm concerned by a president who on October 13th bragged and acknowledged that he's starving the U.S. Postal Service of funding in order to make it harder for people to for mail-in ballots to be processed. I'm concerned about voter suppression, as Shiquita said, through the purging of voter rolls, through closing of polling stations in counties and districts to dissuade and prevent voting on election day. I'm concerned by the recent appointment of a major political donor as U.S. Postmaster General, who quickly moved to shut down mail sorting machines in big cities across the nation and removed post office boxes across the country at a time when this pandemic makes voting in person dangerous. In other words, you know, I'm concerned by a multitude of efforts to prevent people from exercising their constitutional right to vote. And I don't want people to throw up their hands or cop out and say, well, it's too hard or it's not worth it. I'll never forget that man standing in front of a tank outside of Tiananmen Square. That's what voting is about to me. And I want it to be about that for everyone in this country. We all have a constitutional right and duty to vote in this country. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you guys so much. And perfect segue into the next question. How do you think we can energize young voters, and how do you think we can energize disenfranchised voters? And if Rossana, if you want to take this one.
Thank you so much, Hannah. You know, from what Jeanine said, what is she concerned? I'm also concerned. I'm concerned, but I'm also thinking, how can we do this? How can we bring the community? And I'm going to speak about my community. Why? Because, you know, as an immigrant, when I came here, I was not able to vote for the first 10 years. I'm going to say 15 years. Because in 10 years, I was able to get my residency. That is not easy to get the residency. We have to pay money, and it's a lot of money, and to apply, it's a whole process. And then 5 more years then later, I was able to get my citizenship. And then I was able to vote. And that is the reality in our communities, that we have families that have different they have different, some of them have documentation, some of them don't have documentation. So I am concerned about those barriers of the people that live here not having the ability to vote. So that's one of the things. But then I have a lot of hope. I look at the schools, for example. Let's just take the schools here in Boulder County as one example. The population in the schools is packed with young students that are basically a lot of Latinos, Hispanic, Latinx families that are the future in a way. And they should be able to vote and determine their future. So I get super excited about those young people, because I can name you one group, the Zonta girls. They are extremely strong, and they are powerful, and they have been helping with the census and many other areas. And they are a force. And I will, to tell you the truth, go and knock on their doors and enlist them. Like when Shiquita was saying, that would be fantastic to get these young ones to help us recruit and get more votes, because it's in the future, on the young ones, in their hands, you know, that we're gonna get people to go out and be active and vote.
Perfect, thank you so much. And Shiquita, if you want to take next.
Yes, I think, how do we energize young voters? I think the same way we energize any voter, and that is to listen to what their concerns, their issues, and their needs are. And when they find out, when they realize that they have the power to change, a situation, then I think we energize people. When we let them know that that power that they have is in their vote, then we can energize people. When people see that they have the power to change laws, then they are energized. And not only that, once they realize that, it's our duty to support them. It's our duty as citizens, as the League of Women Voters, to support these young people, because once they know they have the support, then they will continue to go on and do more powerful things. But it's important to let them know that they have the power and that we will support them. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much. And Jeanine, do you want to finish this question out?
Well, it's a challenging question, you know. The way I have taken it on is through in the trenches work of voter registration and nonpartisan voter information. I think we must all be actively engaged in reaching out and including young people in democratic engagement, and that's just in the trenches work. I think it starts in the high schools in civic classes, but it's also through modeling of good citizenship by parents and neighbors, and through participation in public marches for things you believe in, by letter writing campaigns, public testimony, and civic discussions. You know, the Women's March a few years, 3 or 4 years ago now, I talked to women on the bus going down to Denver for the first Women's March, and I talked to women my age who had never participated in a public march before. I still talk to people who have. I mean, I was marching back in the 70s, so that was quite a lesson for me, that we need to really engage through modeling and leadership, and through invitation, through encouraging people, and driving home the fact that participation in our democracy is the responsibility of every citizen. I just can't say that enough. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you guys so much. And I guess the last question that I have for you guys is, what do you think that voters need to know, everybody of all ages, what do you think they need to know about now during everything that's going on and the upcoming elections and everything? What do they need to know now? Sorry. And Jeanine, if you wanted to take this one first, sorry.
You know, I just want people to know about the mechanics. You know, ballots will be mailed the week beginning October 9th. It's important for people to read and follow the written instructions, the voter instructions that come with the ballot, and that provides a wealth of information to voters. I guess one of the most important thing and timely things that people need to know about is ballot tracks, BALLTTRAX.net, ballottracks.net, which is available throughout most of the state of Colorado, that any registered voter can go to that website and provide some very basic information, like their name and address. And then when their ballot is mailed, the county clerk will text or phone them and leave a message saying that their ballot has been mailed. The voter will then receive another text when their ballot has been received back from them, and then finally a text or a message when the ballot has been tabulated. So that's something that's been available in Colorado for a long time, and we all need to participate in. It's good to know. I know when I get that text to start looking for my ballot. You know, another thing that people need to know is that in Colorado, A ballot must be received by the clerk's office at 7 p.m. on November 3rd for it to be counted. It's not a matter of postmarking, it's a matter of it being in the county clerk's office by 7 p.m. on November 3rd. If you're mailing your ballot, you need to mail it, I think, by October 27th, which is 8 days prior to the election. But if you're concerned about the ballot reaching the clerk's office on time, people should be using one of the secure ballot drop boxes, which are located throughout the county in Boulder County. Those ballot drop boxes open on October 19th, and every ballot drop box in the county will be listed in the instruction guide that comes with people's ballots. This kind of looks like the instruction guide that is included with a ballot. This is mine from the primary, and it lists every 24-hour ballot drop box in the county. There'll be more included in the general election as a result of the assault on the Postal Service. The Secretary of State is expanding the number of drop boxes across the state. And to my knowledge, all of those drop boxes are secure. In other words, they have a camera on them 24/7. So there's just no excuse not to vote early. And if you have any questions, I really hope that people will consult the League of Women Voters vote411.org voter guide, where we give the pros and cons of ballot issues and do comparison on answers posed to the candidates running for office. So again, it's just mechanics that I hope people will take to heart this year and really vote early. Thanks, Anna.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Super helpful. Rossana, if you want to take this one next.
Thank you. What do we need to know? What do we need to know? You know, we need to know that those that can vote should vote. It is a luxury and we must do it, and it is urgent. It is super urgent. And young people, they're well educated. You guys know, you young ones, you know what's happening. But if you don't act upon it, nothing is going to change, really. In masses. That's what we need. We need voting in masses. If I talk about my community, I have to say, I want to stop here and I want to say, recognize the work that the League has been doing by, uniting with the coalitions, with the groups, with a partnership with Mi Familia Vota, with CIRC, translating a lot of the materials, doing all that work. But that work also needs to have in mind the piece of the culture. And how do we spread things around? By word of mouth. So it's really that work that we must do, that is to talk to our neighbors, to motivate one another to really become strong at this moment in time when our voices are needed more than ever. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Shiquita, last but not least.
Well, I think they both have, the panelists have said it all. What do we need, what do voters really need to know now? Jeanine basically laid it out. There are no excuses. But other than what both of the panelists have mentioned, I would say, contact your family members. And like Rossana said, check on your neighbors, those senior citizens that may not be able to go out because of fear of COVID-19. Check on people, make sure, if they need some assistance with anything. Talk to your young people, well, you can't go up to the schools anymore. Send an email. and ask, talk to the teachers, send an email to the teachers and say, hey, we're with the League of Women Voters. What can we do can we get on a webinar and talk to those students about their right, the seniors who will be 18 or that may be already 18, about their right to vote and how to vote. Make sure they are informed. Make sure that everyone's address is accurate on their mail and on their ballots. Make sure that address for their is accurate. College students, make sure you know where your ballots are going. That's very important. Verify, confirm, verify, confirm. That is what we need to know now. Check on your family members. Make sure they know. Don't take it for granted that all of this information that you learned today, that people know that. So make sure your family members know by word of mouth, as Rossana said, and everything that Jeanine said. Make sure, if you didn't know it before, then that possibly your family doesn't know, maybe, and your neighbor may not know. So it's our duty as citizens in our community is to educate one another and just make sure, verify and confirm. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. That is the end of the questions that I have, and I've seen a bunch of questions coming up in the chat, which is super nice and super exciting. And I think Elizabeth, my mom, has a better view of all of that stuff right now. So Mom, if you wanted to look at a couple questions that have been going on in the chat, and go ahead and ask away.
Yeah, thanks everyone for putting in such great questions. We do have some time to get to more, and Hannah's going to join the other panelists and maybe answer a few of these as well. So the first one from Kristen, I think something that is just on all of our minds. With the pervasive divisiveness in our country, and there go the dogs, and local communities right now, what advice do you offer to engage in civil discourse with those who might not agree with? And how do you stay motivated? This is such a great question, and one that we talk about a lot. The League is a nonpartisan organization. We don't support, endorse, or take any position on candidates. We do on positions. And there is a lot of divisiveness right now. So I wonder which one of you just wants to jump in and address that question first.
Why don't you repeat the question?
Sure. With the pervasive divisiveness in our country and local communities right now, what advice do you offer to engage in civil discourse with those you might not agree with? And how do you stay motivated to do that?
Well, I'll jump in and take a stab at this. And I would just say that I work voter registration and information tables all over Boulder County and have for 6 years. And, not everybody who comes to the table is convinced that voting is necessary or worthwhile. And when I talk to people like that, I tell them, I'm really sorry that's your point of view. I don't know how you came to have that point of view. I don't argue with them, but I just think that so deeply in my soul that voting is our voice. And if we allow anyone to convince us that our voice is worthless or doesn't matter, then our country will be lost. And that's a really scary thought to me.
Thanks, Jeanine. Rossana or Hannah, or Shiquita, what are your thoughts on that one?
I don't, especially as somebody who has a lot of peers who don't particularly care about voting or think that voting matters. I've been in a lot of everywhere from heated debates to arguments to just like completely dismissing people that say these kinds of things. And it sucks. I hate hearing that so much. And it's not only kind of like the way that they think, but it's also based off of the people that they're around. And I think that it's just really important for, obviously not right now, but organizations like us and organizations like that also really care about voting rights and everything to go into schools more and try and engage young voters early on, especially like right going into high school. Because I know me growing up personally, I didn't get any kind of education on voting. I didn't get any kind of education on how to vote, like how to look up the candidates that are competing for whatever office. And it was really unfortunate to me. And thank goodness I had a bunch of strong people and women and just everybody around me really supporting me and pushing me to get educated on these matters and get educated on things that really matter to me and things that might not matter to other people. Because, you know, as much as you really do want to kind of push other people into voting and into kind of in the right way of making their voices heard, that's not always what happens. And so I think really the most important thing to do in those kind of situations is at least tell people that if they're gonna like have such strong opinions on something, like to back it up and to get educated and to like really understand like what exactly they're talking about before they just speak about things that they might know nothing about. And yeah, just getting educated, I think, is like the main point that everybody should do.
I would also like to add from what Hannah has said, and also Jeanine, that it is super important to get informed, but it is even more important right now to get information from a right source. That is key. That is key. We are living in a moment that we must really come to information with a really analytic mind to really check it out before we just assume that it is right or that it is the truth. We need to be critical in every aspect, know what is going on, and then analyze it. And with that, make a decision. And that is extremely important. And that's what I have seen in the league. That's what I have learned from the league. So that's my blessing to all those that are struggling with dealing with family members or with other people that are close to them that are having these discussions. Get informed. Information is power and is liberation. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to another question. And Jeanine, maybe this is a good one for you to start off with. It is about how voter registration is happening during the coronavirus. If you wouldn't mind just kind of explaining how maybe what League is doing and what some other best practices are for people who want to register or for people who maybe want to volunteer and help.
Well, thanks for the question. It's couldn't be more timely or urgent. And you know, I had such great hopes back in January about how we were going to jump in and get all these people trained to conduct voter registration drives all over the county. And we did train over 50 people in January. And we were able to conduct several voter registration drives inside and outside in the freezing cold weather. We had to cancel some of those drives just because of the untimely cold weather that was followed then by a coronavirus pandemic that has really closed all of the venues that we typically use. So we've gotten creative, and what we're doing is we've gotten not only creative but nimble. I mean, we're conducting voter registration drives outside of ice cream shops, liquor stores, in public parks. Wherever I can think, or my team can think that we would get some good foot traffic. All of our tables are outside for the safety of our workers. We all wear masks and gloves. We sanitize our tables between every person coming to the table. We are publicizing on Nextdoor as much as possible about where we will have a voter registration drive table. And we just continue to persevere and try to make our visibility known. The other thing that we're doing a lot of is educating people on vote411.org, the League of Women Voters website, where people can register to vote online if they have a Colorado driver's license or a Colorado identification card. They can get a voter ballot and candidate information, or they can update their voter record. Because in Colorado, our ballots are not going to be forwarded if we've moved since the last election. And that's why we ask everybody who has the fortune or misfortune of coming by our table, and that is, are you registered to vote at your current address? Because you must be if you want to get your ballot.
Thank you so much, Jeanine. Do any of the rest of you want to chime in on any other aspect of voter registration? Shiquita, you're good? Okay. So there are several questions here about what do we do in this COVID situation if people are having trouble getting to that ballot box and want to give their ballot, completed ballot, signed, sealed, to someone else to take to the ballot box. And I do want to just jump in here and say that some of our league members, including Peggy Leach, our former co-president, and other folks in our voter service area, are going to be meeting with the county clerk to really get very, very clear on what's allowed and what's not, so that we're able to share that information as accurately as possible. I don't know if any of you have anything to say. So we will have more information on that coming very soon, hopefully sometime next week. But what are some other, kind of going back to some of these other barriers, maybe that are real, we know they exist, and those that are perceived, about the challenge of people actually getting that ballot filled out and actually getting it to where it needs to go?
Well, I think if I can say, Elizabeth, I know that there are election laws in Colorado about the number of ballots that any one person can physically take on behalf of other voters to to the clerk's office. And I would hesitate to say anything more than that without looking at the law, but there are certainly restrictions on that. And so the bottom line is, as I said earlier, people must, when they get their ballot, have a voter plan and plan to vote early. Don't postpone your voting. This is not the year to wait and see, to put it on the kitchen table and remember about it on November 2nd. It's just not going to work this year, particularly if you're required to mail in. So you must have a voter plan, and if you have questions about what's on your ballot, I mean, that's a perfect way to get a discussion. There are things that I see on a ballot, and I call a trusted friend and I say, well, what do you think? Give me your insight on this. And certainly young people can do that too, with trusted, responsible people that they know, read a newspaper or remain informed and try to hear both sides of an issue. So that would be my point of view on that.
Thanks, Jeanine. Anyone else want to weigh in on that question about actually getting that ballot to the box?
I just want to say that I know as parents, as a parent, it is important to educate your children, to read the ballot, read the issues, go over those issues with your teenager, and start them off like now, 16 years old. Start them off now, explaining how the ballot how it works, and the functionality of going to the polls and what does that mean. I think that's very important. So that's an expectation parents should have for their kids, their teenagers. And so once they become 18, then they already know what they need to do. So I know my daughter and I, we sit down together and we fill out our ballots together. We take them together to the box or to the post office or whichever. And so I think that's important. We need to start exposing our kids right now on what that looks like, on how to vote. What does a ballot looks like? What does it look like? And what do we do with it? So I think that's very important that we started exposing our kids, because they are the future and we want to make sure that they vote, making sure that if there are any language barriers, who do we need to, if we have neighbors and they may not understand the ballot, can we find an interpreter, someone who can help them? I think that's very important as well. Just being noticeable, the barriers in your community and your neighborhood, and see how we can assist them. Yeah.
Thanks, Shiquita. We have lots of comments in the chat. I hope if you all as participants haven't looked yet, you'll open up the chat bar and see some of the conversation happening there as well. There are some folks, Susan Saunders wanted to remind everyone that when you fill that ballot out, you don't have to vote for every race. If you really don't have an opinion, you can still vote for the ones where you do. Or if there's a ballot initiative that, you've done your research, you really just don't understand exactly what it means, you can leave it blank. We want to encourage everyone to be as informed as possible, but you can leave some blank spots if you feel you have to, and please do continue the process for what you can. So let's see, I think we have time just for maybe one more question. And I will note that folks who did sign up for register and whose email we have on track, we'll go ahead and send an email out with some other answers to any of the questions that we didn't get to ask. One of them is about the League of Women Voters going into schools for voter registration. It's something that all of you have talked about, and if we expand schools to include our local universities and Front Range, I wonder, Rossana, I think that's how you found the League in the first place. If you want to talk about what some of that engagement has been. Shiquita, you've been involved in your daughter, getting clubs at school. Just quickly kind of share your perspectives on that question.
Well, I think that, thank you so much for letting me talk about this. I think it is extremely important to, yes, go to those places, education. We all need to get educated and informed, and those are the places that really open up, other possibilities. I think that at this point, we do need to, go to where the conversation is. The university that is here for us is, and other universities, not only CU, but other universities and other learning places are key, especially, connecting with teachers. Teachers are key. Even now with what we are experiencing, there is a lot of communication that they continue bringing to people. So I think that that's a must, that we must connect and request for support and request, look at us right now. We are resilient, we are creative. We humans can do it all if we want to. If we really want something, we make it happen. And we have to believe in that power. So come together with others, request. It's much better to ask that not to ask what they can say no, but really request the support and the desire of really getting more people excited and motivated for a moment of of possibility. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Thanks. Shiquita, did you have anything you wanted to add about school outreach organizing?
Yeah, I would just like to say that my daughter was, Genesis started a League of Women Voters club at Niwot High School. And so those students were extremely happy to be a part of that. They went to the Capitol. They had meetings every other week. I mean, it just gave those kids confidence. They talked about certain issues. She learned about what was important to them. And I think someone put it in the chat about how do you help them to be confident? And that is providing support towards their ideas. We may think it's crazy, but they don't. And so it's important to say, ask them, how do you think that's going to play out? Let me see your plan. How can I help you to create a plan? What do you think? What do you want to do? What does that look like? So I think the main thing is providing, helping them with being confident is also helping them, providing them with support. And as my daughter always say, you can always start a club in a school as long as you have food. So.
That is a tried and true strategy. And for adults as well, let's admit it. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. We're just at the hour here. Thank you to all our panelists for sharing your perspectives, your concerns, your inspirations, and for really challenging all of us to stay informed and engaged. And thanks to our participants. If you want to check out the beautiful She Is Me photos and interviews of these women and others in Colorado, please, we'll post the link in the chat if we can, although I understand we were having some challenges with everyone being able to see the chat conversation, so sorry about that. But you can go to lwvcolorado.org, and under the press room tab, you'll be able to see all the She Is Me photos and interviews of these and many other women. And we'll also have the link on our website at lwvbc.org. And as many of the panelists mentioned and many of the participants chatted in, the League will be offering so many nonpartisan resources in English and Spanish to help people prepare for the upcoming election. In addition to the voter registrations, we'll have candidate forums, all online, don't have to leave your home, presentations to explain initiatives that will appear on the ballot, and a lot more. So you can please also make note to keep checking that vote411.org website, which will have all of that information and more. You can also do all the stuff you hear from everyone, like us on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel, be in touch by joining up as a member. To make sure you have all the information and tools that you need for the election and year round. So with that, I would just invite us all to celebrate the gains that we have made in our community, in our state, and our country to really remove those barriers to civic engagement for everyone, not just some of us, and to continue to challenge ourselves to really continue that struggle. We with the League hope you'll be there with us. And with that, we hope you stay inspired, stay safe, and have a great evening. Thanks.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.